Hello, and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council's public hearing for Tuesday, July 9th, 2019. My name is Kim Clark Baskin, and I'm your Deputy City Clerk. With us today, we have our sign language interpreter, Dean Engelhoff. The following is a piece of legislation to be heard by Pittsburgh City Council. Bill number 1775. Resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority to provide for the rights and obligations of each party with respect to the other, and for payments in capital cooperation between the parties. That concludes the legislation to be heard by City Council. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Cablecast public hearing of Pittsburgh City Council for today, Tuesday, July the 9th, 2019. We are here as it relates to Bill 1775. I am Councilman Kraus. I'll be chairing this evening's public hearing. We are joined by Councilwoman Gross, Councilwoman Cale Smith, Councilwoman Strasburger, Councilman, the one and only, Councilman O'Connor. Okay, so with that, Madam Clerk, may I please have the purpose of Bill 1775?
Bill 1775, resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement between the city and the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority to provide for the rights and obligations of each party with respect to the other, and for payments and capital cooperation between the parties.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So with that, we will go into hearing from our registered speakers. We have five people that have registered to either speak in favor or to register comment on the bill. We ask that when you come to the podium that you please give your name and the neighborhood in which you reside for our public record. Welcome, Councilman. Hey. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, Councilman. We ask that you please come to the podium, give your name and the neighborhood in which you reside for our public record. The green light will indicate the start of your 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, you will have 1 minute to summarize your thoughts. When the red light comes on, then of course your time will have expired. Our first registered speaker this evening is Shah. Allie, if you'll come up, you'll be followed by Madeline Weiss. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Shah. I live in Squirrel Hill. So I'm with the Our Water, Our Rivers campaign with Pittsburgh United. And in March, our campaign had a local lobby day where we asked you on City Council, the mayor, state representatives and state senators, and county representatives to sign on to a pledge fully committing to public water, including public-private partnerships, a ban on public-private partnerships, green infrastructure, and good union jobs in the water and wastewater sector. And a few weeks ago, the PWSA board added their name to our pledge, committing to keeping PWSA publicly owned and run by the people. And that was on top of many of the city council people and the mayor that signed on to this pledge. And we're very happy with that. And that language has made it into this co-op agreement stating that it should be publicly owned utility. And not only has PWSA officially signed on to our pledge, but they're taking steps to work towards water equity. They're on this water equity task force with our campaign, the city, the mayor's office, and a couple other community groups as part of the U.S. Water Alliance Water Equity Task Force, and are actually working to implement some of these things to commit to safe, affordable public water, which we're also really happy about. So we're asking you, council, to now take this step and approve the co-op agreement that includes language that it keeps it fully public. While it's non-binding, I think it's an important symbolic move to let people outside the city who might still have an interest in privatizing water know that people in Pittsburgh are on the same page, that PWSA must remain public. And we ask that you do this in a timely manner so that we can get to continue working on some of the critical issues like safety, affordability, workforce development, and finally getting a full PWSA board. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks for your work. May we have Madeline Weiss? Weiss. I knew that. I don't know why I said that. Hi, Madeline. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. So I'm Madeline Weiss. I live in Wilkinsburg, but I work here downtown. This agreement gets us closer to everyone paying their fair share for water in Pittsburgh, including Phipps, the zoo, the aviary, all paying their fair share. Residents should no longer subsidize a private company or city-owned properties while thousands cannot afford to pay for sizable rate increases. We ask that the council pass this agreement and continue to work with PWSA to find ways to create an equitable water rate structure that keeps water affordable for all.
Thanks, Madeline. Appreciate you being here. Tom Hoffman, you're next, and you'll be followed by Christy Knight. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'm going to pretend I can read this. My name's Tom Hoffman. I live in the Point Breeze area of Pittsburgh, right on the Councilman Strasburger's running route. So PWSA has made major progress, and it's no secret that the PWSA citywide Green First plan is a top priority for the Sierra Club, which is who I work for. And while there's always room for improvement, the commitment to stormwater and sewage, to controlling stormwater and sewage, along with the customer assistance program, the shutoff ban, the coming stormwater fee, the resistance to privatization, and the leadership team have all worked to begin turning the public's perception of PWSA a big 180 degrees. This co-op agreement is the next logical step, getting a clean set of rules for everyone, and everyone knows what they are. We support passing this so that we can focus on and publicize winning safe, affordable, publicly controlled water, as well as a region-wide Green First plan that gives city residents the biggest bang for their stormwater buck, and also a well-run PWSA where you've got clear rules and everybody knows what's going on is probably the best way to keep the organization public. So we support passing this.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for being here. Christy Knight, are you with us this evening? Okay, thank you. So then our next speaker is Yvonne Francine Brown. Welcome, Ms. Brown.
Yes, my name is Yvonne F. Brown. And you know, I'm starting to have problems with these open hearings that you run. Now, maybe I read it wrong, but I thought whenever we have these open hearings, you have about the rights and obligations, but what are they? It used to be that you would have someone come from the water department and explain what you're gonna do. So it seems that you all know what it's about, but how come there's nothing written here for us, for me or anybody else to know? Seriously, I mean, think about it. You all know what he's talking about. The agreement is this and that. Why is the agreement here so I could see or anybody else that don't know? See, the problem I have with you as city council, this group, like I've been coming 20-something years, the problem I have with this group is that you do things and we know nothing about it. You understand? Like with you, pregnant, gone. No one said anything and you come back, your baby's 3 months old. How could that be? Did you have a doctor's excuse why you couldn't come back and sit there 2 days a week? See, that bothers me because I'm from the poor neighborhood. No way we could get a job like that. $5,000 a month you got for just sitting. You didn't say, see, what bothers me is that you didn't tell us. She just disappeared one day. Never said on maternity leave, never said that she would be off. Please understand, you're running the city, and we're supposed to know where you are at any time that you're not there. See, they get away with it. At the end of the meeting, they say, excuse the absent members, but they never tell you why. They say they're supposed to be fined, but we never know why you're not here. You never get fined. $5, $10. You need to take, the one from Panther Holler said that the citizen said you should be charged $1,000 a minute because you never come on time. A half an hour, 29 minutes. When I started fussing, 29 minutes, 27 minutes. Add that up for 10 years. It's enough to make you sick. And I am upset because you're wasting our money. If they count up all the hours that you didn't sit here, I'm sitting here. I have a husband that's, he's crippled because he worked for this city. And when I said one time, come on, let me go, oh, what do you have to do? I have a husband that he's crippled. He worked for this city. And yens are using our money, and we don't know why. I want to know where the pennies go, because they add up to dollars.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown. We appreciate everyone that's here for the public hearing, keeping their comments to the bill before us, which is Bill 1775, as it relates to the cooperation agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. We have exhausted the list of registered speakers. Is there anyone else in attendance tonight at this public hearing that wishes to address City Council? Okay. Just as a footnote, we ask that you register in advance to speak. If you have not registered in advance, we limit your comment to 1 minute. But I really appreciate that you came down to make the time to be here. So I'm going to waive that tonight and grant you both the 3 minutes in which to speak. But is that the only two that then wish to register comment? And I'm going to take you. I understand. Okay, so we're going to go with Christy Knight, who will be our next speaker, and then we'll take you two for coming down, and then we'll close the public hearing. So Christy, please come up, and thanks for being here.
Hi, my name is Crystal Knight, and while I live in Swissville, I work in Bloomfield Garfield for the Thomas Merton Center, where we work with the Our Water, Our Rivers campaign. The TMC has hundreds of Pittsburgh members that have, from day one, stood firmly against privatization of any kind, from full control to the gray public-private partnership scale. And as a worker in the city who spends the majority of my time within the city limits, this issue affects people in the broader region who drink water and go about their daily lives, in Pittsburgh city limits. Unfortunately, we know that the fight against privatization is far from over. Private companies like Pan American and Aqua America will continue to try to expand in this region and in Pittsburgh, with state Republicans receiving thousands of dollars in campaign donations from those companies. They will continue to try to find ways to privatize an authority that they do not represent. It's clear that these companies understand the money game. Aqua America alone was happily lining the pockets of at least 14 state Republicans in 2016 and 2018, respectively, when representatives in counties far from Pittsburgh are using the disastrous Act 12 that passed in 2016 to push publicly owned authorities to concede to the shady promises they made in our names. We need a local government that is willing to fight to protect us. We know from the 2016 Food and Water Watch State of Public Water in the United States report that in Pennsylvania, private systems charge 84% more than public systems. That translates to an extra $323 a year families are burdened with carrying to secure a private company's profits. That is why it is so important for the mayor's office, PWSA, and city council as our representatives to agree to keep PWSA publicly controlled for the long term. And as much as we all idealize a world in which the federal government acknowledged their responsibility to invest in our nation's infrastructure, we know that this administration is pushing for anything but public accountability. The president's original infrastructure plan relied on a $100 billion fund incentivizing private sector involvement in public utilities. Rather than following in the course of the Trump administration of selling off our region's most precious and valuable resource, Pittsburgh should make a strong and clear path to protecting our water for its residents today and generations to come. And we don't have to look far to find an inspiring example of community groups, city government, and voters working together to do the critical work of protecting their water and residents. Baltimore made history by being the first city to overwhelmingly vote to ban the privatization of the city's water and sewer systems. We should use their example as a path forward, and this agreement could be the first step in doing that. Passing this agreement is part of that, and we ask that all of these entities do what they can to make that statement permanent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here. Would you come up then? Whoever wishes to come first. We just ask that you give your name and the neighborhood in which you reside for a public record. Thank you.
So my name is Bernadette Hughes, and I represent the Banksville section of the city. I also represent the Hasen Avenue residents, also known as Help for Hasen. Hashtag Help for Hasen. Please feel free to look it up. Although I never thought I'd say the word, I would like to privatize water. Today, I feel like I have to, unless we do something with the current PWSA administration. My neighbors are not here, as they're still dealing with the flood and the sewage and the cleanup from Saturday. We are here on a number of homes impacted on our street. This rain event is increasing. We are not just talking about July 6, 2019, but how about June 20th, 2018, October 2nd, 2018, October 4th, 2018, October 6th, 2018, May 29th, 2019, and July 6th, 2019. I can go on, but I know that I only have 3 minutes, and I appreciate the extra 2. Water literally is shooting out of the manholes on our street every rain event, even rain events that none of us hear about because it doesn't make the news in any other neighborhood. We understand big, large rain events. That's not what we're talking about here. And by the way, we live nowhere near water. We are up on a hill, okay? More homes are getting more flooding and more sewage, and the volumes are increasing. The families are losing thousands of dollars replacing furnaces, dryers, hot water heaters. The damaging every single year we're replacing that. Our homes are at risk and our lives are at risk. On June 20th, 2018, Mr. Paulus fell while trying to turn off the electricity into his flooding home. He broke 3 ribs. What if he had hit his head? He could have drowned in his own damn house. Excuse me. On July 6, 2019, Tim and Denise Nutter's dryers dislodged by the floodwaters, and their carbon monoxide detectors went off. Fortunately, we had another neighbor who, because they weren't home, who actually was able to get in the home and turn off the gas. The whole house could have blown. Does someone have to die? What will it take for PWSA to accept responsibility for their $1.7 million failure at the Red Oak Hasen Avenue project? They literally put a septic tank in front of our homes. Since this project's inception in 2015, we have been given false hopes, lies, and broken promises. We have to fight every step of the way, even to get a sandbag. On June 4th, Bob Weiner sat in Gina's home and told us the system is working as designed. Teresa, you and Kim were there. You heard it yourself. We have literally 10-inch curbs in front of our home on Saturday. Yet still, our neighbors' homes had anywhere from 3 to 5 feet of water. One of them actually has a sub pump that pumps out 10,000 gallons of water a minute. What had happened had he not had that? We should not have to live like this. We have sandbags lining our house every single day. Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Ma'am, did you wish to speak as well? You're welcome. Yes, please do. Just give us your name, and we know you're in Banksville.
Yes, my name is Gina Polis, and I'm also speaking on behalf of my fellow residents on Hasen Avenue. And we will no longer accept the Band-Aid fixes given to us by the PWSA due to their failed project. The 96-inch tank underground is failing, and when concerned citizens brought this up at the meeting in my home on June 4th, Mr. Weimar responded by saying the underground system is working as designed. We knew that raising curbs would not help us, and our concerns came to fruition on Saturday, July 6, 2019, when I stood alone, helpless at my front door, and watched my neighbors' driveways fill with water like a swimming pool. And there was nothing I could do. I was home by myself. All the other neighbors were out of town for the 4th of July weekend, and I tried to go outside several times to move sandbags to protect their homes while, meantime, my basement and laundry room are filling with raw sewage. And I watched the end of my street turn into a lake for now the 4th time in a little over a year. PWSA merely places blame on anyone or anything but themselves, not to mention our sagging laterals, sunken driveways, and hidden underground streams. And also they like to blame home builders from the 1950s. So I implore you to vote no for the PWSA administration. A big no.
Okay. So that exhausts the list of registered speakers and those who wish to address council this evening. And I know, Councilwoman, you made comment earlier today, and I know how hard you're working to help rectify the situation. And if you wish.
Yeah, I'm going to make a couple comments. I just want to thank you both for coming down. I know that you have been dealing with this. I mentioned the comments earlier today for 6 years. And, you know, when we hear groups coming down and speaking for the public and wanting a public utility, you need to also talk for the public and the people that are being affected in a negative way. I obviously want to keep PWSA public. I want to keep it in the public hands. I want to make sure that you have, because without it being public, you don't have the voice. And so far, I have been your voice and the only voice that's fought for this community. And now we have Chief of Staff Gilman, who's been doing some stuff, and Councilwoman Gross over the weekend, who helped us. And so without us, you wouldn't have had that voice. So I want to make sure you understand the reason why I would be supportive of that. But I do think that when we hear people talking about it, they need to make sure that they understand that there are people that are suffering like you, and that we need a solution. And I even said today, maybe we should hold this until there is a solution in place for Red Oak and Hasten, a real solution, and not just to look. We talk about green infrastructure, and I'm a huge fan of green infrastructure. I talk about this all the time. I was the one who brought it to the attention of Alcosan. It's something that we needed to do when I was a board member there. And Arletta's come here publicly and spoke about my bringing it to the Alcosan board. But when it's not working, we have to admit we cannot jeopardize a life because it's not working. We've had homes flooded where children were sleeping in game rooms, and the floodwaters became so high. If their parents didn't get them out of there, God knows what would have happened. We have people with compromised immune systems in homes with raw sewage. I mean, just the response in general has just been poor. I think PWSA has done a lot, and they've spent a lot, as you've heard. They've spent a lot, but it's not working. So you need to look outside the box. We talked earlier today about how there was some construction work done and demo work done on the Motel 6 on Banksville Road, and possibly a pipe, could have been broken or something. We don't know. We need somebody to get in there and look and see what's happening, because that was done without permits. And then there's also another green infrastructure project on Banksville Road, and you saw the flooding on the news coverage on Banksville Road. Another green infrastructure project. There may be a time where you have to do a combination of green and gray infrastructure. There may be a time where green infrastructure is not possible, and do it where it is possible. But when it's not possible, we need to look outside the box and figure out what the problem is. We just can't keep ignoring it year after year, time after time. These people are at their wits' end. They're ready to have nervous breakdowns over this, and I can't imagine. These are the very people that have helped our special education children. Bernadette's a teacher at Pioneer, a beloved teacher at Pioneer School. Jean and her husband, he works for DPW. We have a guy who worked for as a medic. The list goes on and on. The Attorney General has somebody there on that street, a police officer, who all have helped people in crisis, and yet they can't get any help. I mean, it's disgusting what's happening there. And the chairman of the board is here, and I would say that hopefully you'll go over and have a conversation with the folks from Red Oak and Hasten after this meeting, because otherwise I'm going to make a lot of comments continuing up until this final vote. And I'm going to make sure that we do what we have to do to take care of Red Oak and Hasten. And not just Red Oak and Hasten, but we have businesses we're starting to lose on Banksville Road now. So we're going to lose an entire major business district because PWSA can't figure out a pipe. Something needs done, and it needs done now.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. No, go ahead, Councilwoman.
I just want to also say I'm so sorry for your problems, and we'll continue to push, and I will lend my voice to Councilwoman Smith, both on the board and at council, until we find a solution. We've all shared earlier today a lot of stormwater and flooding issues. I can't fail to mention Dragoon Way in my own district and alley that is flooding and flooding people's basements. I know that each council member can probably relate issues where the system just isn't working right there, and we need to focus on those places that are in crisis, right, and put the resources into fixing them. So I really appreciate you coming down, and it's very important. And I did invite the other board members as well. Thank you to Chairman Leger for coming down. I think it's very important for board members of authorities and not just council people to hear directly from the voices, and so it's very important that you shared, and I will try to make sure that they watch at least your testimony since they weren't here in person. I appreciate it.
Can I also add to that? I wish you'd make sure that they get a response. During the last meeting we had in Gina's beautiful home that's flooded all the time, was that there was a possibility of PWSA buying out some of the homes because there may not be a solution. So they may buy out some of them. So they told them, if you're interested, send an email. So they did, and they haven't heard back. It's been, what, almost a month?
I'm sorry to hear that.
June 4th.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'll try to see what I can find out.
Councilman.
Okay, so I have to add my 2 cents to this. I'm actually doing a job up on Red Oak, which I think most of that water comes from Red Oak, right? Coming down the street. Out of the sewers, right. So I couldn't help myself but to jump out of the car. I saw, everybody was just getting over the flood and cleaning up. And to ask, because I obviously have the same problems in many, many different areas. I will say this, I don't think it's fair to blame PWSA. I really don't. I think they've been making an effort in my district, and I see what they've done up there. They put a lot of money into that place. I saw the brand new curbs and, everything that they're doing there, okay? Maybe it's not right. Maybe it's not the right answer. I think PWSA is faced with challenges that they've not seen before. To me, I'm thinking outside the box. When I think outside the box, I think, well, homes that are being devastated on a regular basis, that's where it comes a buyout. It's you really. Oh, is that right? Is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no.
So I don't know the whole situation there. Okay, in fairness, I don't know the whole situation. But what I will say is PWSA, they are making an attempt. They are trying to the best of their abilities. I've seen it in my district where, milling the street, putting curbs, all that. It keeps failing. Call it climate change, call it this pump system you have underneath the ground. I think the problem is nobody's quite sure what the problem is. That's what I think the problem is. So I've seen the devastation up there. I just, and I feel for you. What a way to live. What a terrible way to live every time it rains and every time that forecast calls for hard thunderstorms. But I'm just here to say, PWSA is making the effort. I believe they want to, solve these problems. I just think they're difficult problems. I think they're no easy answers for them, in my opinion. And in some cases, in my district, I'm asking them for buyout money, and I'm asking for the city for buyout money because we just can't stop it in some cases. Not yours necessarily.
Well, let me just say they did offer them some buyout, but they haven't followed through.
So with that, just so you know, you have an amazing representative in wishing to help you out, and she has the support of all of her colleagues and the PWSA in assisting you with whatever remedies this needs to take, and we're there to help. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
With this public hearing, though, this evening, we have closed comment on Bill 1775, which is the cooperation agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and PWSA. And without further comment from members, we've heard from the public. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. And thank you.